So let's get started. And I'm very happy to have Florian Sauter, the CTO and co-founder of EGYM with us. And we'll just dive into the tech world right away. And of course, Florian, I would love to know, as a very first question, I would love to know, how does this feel like to be the co-founder of a unicorn company?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. So, of course, it's an amazing feeling, but it's also the culmination of 15 years of pretty tough work. So it's actually great to see that we're finally getting some recognition for what we're doing here on this, yeah, very important topic, what I think.
So you started 15 years ago as a CTO. How has your role changed since then?
Yeah, so I mean, when we started, we were kind of two, three people in the famous garage, so to say, at least in the single room. So obviously, the job has changed quite a lot from the content, from how much hands-on work I can do. Has changed quite a bit nowadays. Um, but what also has changed is the environment. So 15 years ago, nobody was talking about AI in the same way we're doing now. So the whole landscape has shifted a lot. And yeah, I think it's just amazing to see what kind of things we have at our fingertips to work with in terms of technology to make a real difference on a lot of data that we are collecting and finally also the products we can build.
Can you quickly describe your current responsibilities? What projects, what developments are you specifically responsible for that you are most excited about?
Yeah, so one of the biggest projects I'm involved in nowadays is what we call EGYM Genius. So this is our AI-based training assistant, which really tries to tie together all the different data points that we are collecting in the EGYM universe. So all the different things people are doing on the gym training floor primarily, and making that a useful tool for people to have a meaningful workout and guide them through this process. And we really have the average person as our target user. So we are not an athlete solution. We are a solution that really tries to provide a health-focused outcome for everybody. And it's quite interesting to see all the challenges that are involved in building something like that. So that's one of my key responsibilities nowadays, to really make sure that we're using the right technologies there and really making the ends meet in terms of tech and product.
Right. So you briefly mentioned that you're collecting obviously quite some data. How many data points approximately are you collecting on a daily basis, and what kind of data is this?
Yeah, so it's really a lot. I don't have the exact number on the top of my head, but I think what's important if you speak about data is the kind of things that you're collecting for what you want to do with it. And I think when you look at what happens on the training floor, obviously there's a lot of workout and exercise data that is happening that describes what people are doing. But in order to build a really meaningful AI solution, what we think you also need is really hard assessment data. So it's data that comes from machines like the body composition scales that tells you your body fat percentage on an ongoing basis. It's maybe the strength measurement that you can do on an EGYM piece of equipment that tells you how your maximum strength has evolved. And I think only with these measurements you can really close the control loop and build something that actually works. And we're trying to collect that both, of course, from our own equipment, but also from a lot of partners on the training floor. And I think this is what makes the solution so powerful.
Right. And let's just dive in a bit into the specific applications, use cases, technology stacks that you guys are using. Maybe you can tell me briefly about the most important areas of AI application right now at EGYM.
Yeah, so I guess again, eGym Genius as this core product is probably the biggest application. We are exploring AI applications all throughout the company, also in very different areas, also for our internal purposes, obviously, to see how we can make our own folks more productive. But if you look at the product world that eGym offers, then Genius is the core piece. And interestingly, we are not using a lot of these large language models that are nowadays biggest part of the discussion, I would say. It's really a pretty classical machine learning domain where you have a lot of structured data that you need to crunch through and can really do some, I would call that more classical machine learning on top of that. I would still put that under the umbrella of AI, but this is mostly what we're doing here.
So less Gen AI, more machine learning.
Exactly, exactly. That's the bigger focus. And then, of course, there's Gen AI elements, for example, in the way you want to present that to the user. So we are experimenting also a bit with new forms of user interfaces, obviously.
Which
So
ones?
there, yeah, just a natural language interface is something I find pretty interesting as an idea. So that is not a product that we're offering today, but looking at the trends that I see, I think there's a lot of these chatbot interactions nowadays, and I could very well imagine that some features that are today contained in a single app might just be one of a lot of features contained inside a chatbot solution in the future, maybe leading us to a completely different layout of a smartphone in, well, probably not next year, but maybe in some time from now.
Right, we'll see about that. You mentioned that you're using lots of machine learning, and do I get you correctly that a big part of that probably is also the computer vision that you're using for screenings, or what else can I imagine as a very specific application from the user perspective?
Yeah, so we have a product called the Fitness Hub, which is a device that you can basically step up to and get some body measurements. You can do some exercises in front of the machine and the machine gives you some feedback on how you're performing these. So that's the computer vision part of the of what we're doing with yeah, AI in the widest sense here at EGYM. So that is another part that is pretty independent from the training plan engine. That's right, yeah.
Okay, training plan engine, computer vision, user interface communications with large language models. Could you tell us a couple of words about the tech stacks that you're using for this? And don't be afraid to be too technical. Those who don't want to listen to this will just skip.
Yeah, so as I said, the generative AI and the large language models probably play a smaller role than one would assume. It's really a lot of classical machine learning, numbers crunching based on a lot of very structured data that we're having. But I think for the domain that we're working in, this is the right tool to use. And then I don't want to go too much into the detail of the exact modeling, but of course it's a tough challenge in a way that if you look at the anatomy of a training plan, it's hard to judge the outcome really because there's so many dimensions to it. There's an effectiveness dimension. Some people really want to have the shortest possible workout and the maximum results in that time, but that can be quite painful at times. While there's also a behavioral science component to it, where you want to keep the users engaged over a longer period of time. And maybe it's better for the average user to be engaged for a long time rather than being super effective in the time they're spending in the workouts. So there's a balance to strike between a lot of different criteria you want to optimize for, which, yeah, I think makes it a super interesting challenge.
I'm already seeing that you don't want to get into technical details of what you guys are building. Are you working with an agency or are you doing everything in-house?
We are doing pretty much everything in-house. So we have a huge developer team. We have data scientists on staff, sports scientists. So we are really trying to do it all in-house.
So what biggest problem for eGym have you solved with AI so far?
Yeah, I think the biggest problem we saw looking at the gym market is there is nowadays a pretty big segment of gyms that are not having any staff. And for these gyms, it was very hard to provide good member care to users who are less experienced. So oftentimes you have this effect, a new person joining the gym, not really knowing what to do. And I think this is exactly where AI can make a huge difference and provide these folks with some reasonable guidance on where to start and also give them the right dose of workouts, making sure they're not overstretching things in the very beginning and just helping them through this initial journey until somebody has established a certain habit and a certain level of expertise. So that's, I think, the biggest challenge that we're trying to tackle with AI, and where also the value is super immediate. If you look at a more advanced segment of users, I think there's still a lot of value in providing more inspiration and more variation inside a workout. Um, but I would say that's the two big points where we really see an immediate application.
And speaking of in-house challenges with product development, where was AI most instrumental for you?
Well, in-house, I think we are still experimenting a lot. So, of course, there's an obvious field with the software engineers where we're trying to employ AI techniques to increase productivity. I would
Like with
say
Copilot?
exactly, Copilot. We have experimented with that, and then also with other AI tools. And we're trying to do that across the company in different kind of experiments that we're setting up. I would say with kind of mixed results so far. So there's some light and some shadow. There's a few tasks that really can be sped up massively with these techniques. But there's also some downsides we've experienced. So sometimes it's hard to really bring that into practice, especially across the whole company.
Mm. And you've also chosen not the easiest job of using AI with hardware, because now you have to tackle both sides of the problem. And from this perspective, what's one thing that you feel everyone who is working at the intersection of software and hardware is getting wrong when they're trying to implement AI?
Not sure I can say what other people are getting wrong. I think what I can say is that if you can combine hardware and software, it can be a quite unique opportunity to get hold of data points you otherwise could not get hold of, because you really can build things across the whole layer. I think that's a big advantage. Um, I think time will tell who really is successful in building such products. And in the end, I think it's not so much a technical challenge and problem, but also quite a bit of a product challenge to build something that's really useful for people and make that useful for the average person.
Right. Speaking of opportunities, if you're thinking about the next 1 to 2 years, where do you see emerging exciting opportunities for AI in the field of fitness and health? What are you excited about that's coming up?
Yeah, I think the most exciting thing for me is really this convergence between fitness and health in the future. So I think fitness has for a very long time been viewed more as a leisure activity and not so much as something that belongs to the health market. And I think this is where AI can help to change the picture. And I, of course, we're trying to be part of this journey by acquiring all that data and providing more proof that a systematic workout is actually providing health benefits in a measurable way. And finding these patterns in data that in the fitness space tends to be quite noisy is something where I believe can help a lot.
Prove the benefits of pure fitness for health that obviously has way bigger budgets and possibilities for growth.
Absolutely. And I think if you look at recent studies from the healthcare sector, oftentimes the outcome is that with a targeted workout intervention, you can have a lot of positive effects. The downside is that these studies often are conducted just with very few users. So I think what we can contribute is data on many, many more people and health effects of a regular workout routine there that is targeted and of course, personalized to your needs.
If you're when you're saying many more people, how many people are you actually serving?
I'm not sure if we're disclosing that, so we might need to cut that out.
Give me an approximation.
Well, so we're talking millions for sure of people that we are addressing, both with our own equipment, and of course also more and more people part of the corporate fitness program, where also the big goal is to just activate more people and allow more people to participate in doing something for their health in a systematic way.
Okay, like 50 million, 100 million?
Again, I'm not sure if we are disclosing numbers here, so I have to pass on that.
Which challenge have you still not solved that you will with the help of AI in the future?
Well, the one challenge that we probably never solve is that you still need to sweat yourself to get results, but I think that's not necessarily a bad thing. Yeah.
Right, people are lazy, no?
People have a hard time building habits. I think this is how I would phrase it, and I think this is where we have to support them. And I think AI is a great tool that can help us get there. Yeah.
Last question. Which is the one piece of advice that you'd like to give to a technical founder or a CTO in the fitness and health space?
I'm always having a hard time giving advice, but my piece of advice would probably be to not look too much at the technical side. At least that's the experience from my last 15 years on the job. I think the important battles have been fought in the realm of product, in the realm of building something that's actually being used. And then the technology usually follows, and you can still build something that somehow works.
Build value, tech will follow. Love this. Thanks, Florian. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.